the Mets are done, right? I mean, essentially, it would take a miracle for them to get back into it. There's some of these great regular seasons that they had. Like, I wasted the 2022 regular season when the Mets were having such a great regular season thinking how they were going to blow it. And now it's all I remember about that season is how they blow it. So this, mark my word, this is a turning point for me, man. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, G. And, I would... Here's the thing. In the sports media world, who has a better job than we do?
No, nobody.
Nobody. I mean, we get to live, whether it be a bad season or a good season. But as a sports fan and as a former professional athlete, I didn't know if you knew that. Sometimes I think you forget that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of headache and heartache and so much that goes into a particular season, whether you're on a winning team or a losing team. I was on a couple winning teams in my career, and there's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it, and the fans are involved, the city is involved, and everybody gets behind you, and you can feel this such an optimistic and positive feeling around the team and around you, and you actually look forward to going to work every day. It's kind of like coming here.
Yes.
We feel great about coming to work every day. So I don't know when this happened to me, and I somewhere along the line. It all kind of meshed together as a former player and then as a hardcore fan from my days as a child here in New York. There was something that I appreciated when a team gave me a season that I could actually say I look forward to their next game. And that was part of the journey. Now, this Ranger team is a very likable group of guys. They are a very close group of guys. They have been over 3 years. There's been coaches that have gone in and come and gone here for that particular team. But essentially, it's still run by the same hockey operations people. Jeff Gordon did a great job rebuilding the team. Then he and John Davidson got kicked out, and then Chris Drury kind of was handed what he's been working with over the last few years. So to me, it's like when you start the season and you go on this run and you have this backup first ballot Hall of Fame goalie, Jonathan Quick, saved the season essentially in the beginning of the year. It's a great ride, and they're winning games that you never expected them to win.
And in New York, we don't win anything anymore. I mean, that's bottom line is we've had a lot of really bad years. The Yankees in 2009 and the Giants in 2011, and then after that, it's been nothing. We haven't seen a championship since then. So I think that's another reason why I'm like, man, like you don't know. Even with all these teams here, you have no idea what the hell is going to happen. And I think this Knicks season, too, because this is one of the first times ever, and I know there's a big debate around here at WFAN, did the Knicks blow it, or was it the injuries, or do you think it was a good season, not a good season? And going into the Pacers series, I was like, well, if they lose this series, then that's brutal. But
how did they lose
the series?
They
lost a million guys that got hurt. We understand. But that was one of the first times ever that you end a season and you're like, man, like, all right. It was still a lot of fun.
It was a great season.
And I'm happy with this team and looking forward to the future. Now, there's going to be other teams that we have high expectations for that are not going to meet it, and we're going to be upset. But there's going to be other teams that exceed those expectations. And I've been so focused on that end result that I think that's what's made me a miserable sports fan. When you always say this to me about the Vikings, too, like, oh, they could be the team that's like 2-14, 2-15 every single year. They're not. They seem to be in the playoffs or in the mix. And I'm like, yeah, but they've never won.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
So then I hate them. But I really should be like enjoying some of those seasons when they were good.
A lot of it depends on how these seasons end. Now, last year for the Rangers, I told you, I came in here pissed. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way that they wilted to the Devils. They had a 2-0 lead and they end up losing the series, and they're out. They fire the coach, and supposedly this new coach comes in, and he's going to have a new defensive perspective on things, and he's going to be able to motivate the players. And they got 2 rounds farther than they did last year.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed every single minute of every single game. As excruciating as the loss was in Game 6 down in Florida, I mean, the next morning I woke up and I was like, man, I really had a fun time watching them this year. And I can also say the same thing about the Knicks. I mean, like, I had basically been on the sideline as a Knicks fan for 20 years because of the disastrous decisions that have been made about the people who are running the organization and how they went about running the organization. Felt like they were building something under Donnie Walsh, and all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, the Carmelo trade happens when it didn't have to happen. He could have been signed in free agency the year, after that year was over. You didn't have to trade half the team to bring him here. And then that's when I was like, you know what, this is brutal. This is really and then they bring in Phil Jackson. You had the whole Isaiah Thomas thing. So finally they have some stability at the top of their organization. And even though I'm not happy about Leon Rose not being available more to the media to speak to his fans or the fans of the team, I do respect the way that he's gone about rebuilding this team. And he's put a collection of guys together that it's easy to root for. I mean, they play hard. They may not be top 10 players. Maybe Jalen Brunson is now. But they play hard. They play defense. And I like the coach. And so why wouldn't I enjoy the journey with them? And I feel bad for them because of the injuries that they sustained through the playoffs that ended up knocking them out of the playoffs. So I enjoy that part of it. And I think Yankee fans are in the midst of that right now.
And that's exactly where I was going with it. So you hear BT and Sal all the time. Even one of the promos this morning when I was driving in, Yankees World Series or bust, World Series or bust. And listen, I understand that with Juan Soto here potentially for just the 1 year, that you got to capitalize on it as much as you can. But think about how well they are playing. And if you have that mentality of World Series or bust and this season means nothing unless they go to the World Series or win the World Series, then think about what has gone on so far. You've got two guys with historic numbers in Soto and Judge together. Aaron Judge might have another one of these 60 home run seasons. They have the best record in baseball. They've got the LA Dodgers coming into town this weekend, which is going to be just absolutely awesome. And if people are going to that game that are going to be watching all those stars on the field, are they going to be thinking about, wow, this is fun, but if they don't win the World Series, then this moment is going to be evaporated?
See, I don't know about that. So, but here's the thing. Let me take you back to 2007 when Craig and I first started on WFAN. That was the year the Mets, lost a 7-game lead with 17 to play.
Yep, with the Phillies.
All right, so that was a disaster. That was also the same year that Eli rose from the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a year where initially when we first started, probably in October of that year, we were getting phone calls, fire Tom Coughlin, get rid of Eli Manning. He sucks. Get rid of this person. Giant fans were livid back then. We all tend to forget that, but I remember living through it and trying to defend Eli and saying he was a young man and you got to give him a chance. We got to, we can't just throw him off the field. I mean, he does have DNA that tells you that he's going to be a success in some regard. And all of a sudden they go up to Buffalo late in the season. It's an ugly, ugly game. And I think it's the Ahmad Bradshaw and the Antonio Pierce game where they beat the Buffalo Bills. And all of a sudden their season kind of turns around. And it was such an exciting time because it was so unexpected. Like nobody expected the Giants to do what they did. Nobody expected in the middle of the year for that Giant team specifically to go as far as they did, and then to go on the road and win all these games on the road in as a wild card entry. And
well, yes, and that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah,
obviously.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it was amazing. That I remember that, and I'm saying how lucky we were as a radio station, and as we were as a radio pair that were just getting started to have kind of both of those things happen, because you had the negativity of the Mets, and then you had the surprising positivity of the Giants, and like now the Yankees are where the Mets were back in 2007. We all expected. Now I'll never forget. We were talking about the Mets pitching staff. They're loaded. There's no way that they're going to lose this. They have such great starting pitching, and of course they lose everything. And then all of a sudden, the Giants pick up the slack and go on this unbelievable run and go and win that Super Bowl that year. That was remarkable. And it was remarkable to be a part of that in real time on this station. And that's why I say, part of the beauty of being a sports fan is going on this journey with your team, especially if they're good. If they're bad like the Mets are right now, and they're scuffling again, and it's amazing to me. You watch in the ninth inning, it's like they just want to try to give the game up. And last night it was Ottavino that tried to give up the game. Not that he tried, but, unfortunately, his name's attached to the 2 earned runs that he gave up, and they end up winning by a run when they had a 3-run lead in the ninth inning. So it's the Knicks and the Rangers, the run that they went on, just being a part of that and feeling that amazing expectation that when you get to the playoffs, your team definitely has a chance to win a championship. And unfortunately, both teams came short. But I enjoy the ride for both teams.
Yeah, and I think another part of this, and the reason why I'm feeling this way this morning, is I think that I am resigned to the fact that I'm just not going to see it. Before my time on this earth is finished, I am not going to see a championship. It's just not going to happen.